good morning again, and you can see the Tokyo Towers lit up in red, white, and blue as President Trump prepares to be greeted by the Emperor of Japan. And then he's got this big meeting with Japan's new Prime Minister, Sanae Takaichi, who is a fascinating political figure. She is a former TV host, like our president, who also has an affinity for playing the drums.
I just announced great friendship. I look forward to meeting the new Prime Minister. I hear phenomenal things. She was a great ally and friend of Shinzo Abe, who was my friend, the former Prime Minister, and he was great. He was one of my best. He was one of the best. And in the group, he was one of the best, really best. And I know they were very close. And I think philosophically they were close, which is good. It's going to be very good. That really helps Japan and the United States. I think she's going to be great.
And to give you a sense of how important Japan is to President Trump's foreign policy, this is his fourth trip to Japan across both terms. And this new prime minister is hoping to win favor with President Trump by ordering a fleet of Ford F-150 trucks to possibly be used by Japan's transport ministry. President Trump says he loves that idea because he says that is a hot truck. And everything that happens here in Japan today is going to be to try to counter China's influence in the region. That is why President Trump stopped on the way to strike rare earth minerals deals with Malaysia and Cambodia and Thailand ahead of a meeting with China's Xi in South Korea this week that could be the backdrop for a new U.S. and China trade deal, easing tariffs and leveling the economic playing field. President Trump also now says he might sign the next phase of the TikTok deal where China has to give up ownership to a United States company. And then President Trump says while he is in South Korea, after this stop in Japan, he is open to meeting with Kim Jong-un. He has met Kim 3 times already. He says they have a great relationship, and this could ultimately be President Trump's first chance in this second term to try to get the North Koreans to denuclearize. But we'll see.
You want a tariff? I give you big tariff. You want a 150 tariff? Too much tariff for you. I know you want a greatest of all time 150 tariff on your seafood, right clam shoulder, and Ushu lobster and banana tariff. So much tariff. Look at my rate is direction of tariff I give to you.
I don't know how Jerry keeps getting away with it. How does he can't keep getting away with it. Jerry, you can't keep getting away with it. Ladies and gentlemen, the Fed's getting away with it. Massive breaking news this morning. Our show covering exclusively new information from the pipe bomber and the curious situation around the discovery of these pipe bombs at the RNC in DC. No, ladies and gentlemen, we are a Rottweiler. We are a bulldog. When we get a bone, when we take a bite, ladies and gentlemen, out of a story, we ain't gonna let go. We ain't letting go. We got that dog in us. Today, Monday, October 27th, 2025. Welcome to Spooky Week. As President Trump is in Asia, we will be looking back here domestically and doing a deep dive on the mysterious case of the pipe bomber. Now, we've got a brand new $500,000 reward for the pipe bomber, brand new footage and information. In fact, we were lavished last week with hours of new footage of the pipe bomber. Amazing. It's been 5 years. Where the hell was all that footage? And now we have new information from Julie Kelly, who will be joining our show exclusively to talk about a brand new report where she has found outright lies and abject inconsistencies in the official story, especially pertaining to the official witnesses. Oh, yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, Trump also has challenged AOC and Jasmine Crockett to a 2028 run. Will Trump run against them? I don't know. That'd be fun. Rep. Wesley Hunt and Julie Kelly will join the show live. My name is Benny Johnson, and this is The Benny Show. Just a reminder that we'll be in Auburn next week, packing stadiums with the Trumps. Ladies and gentlemen, team, gotta get a new head. We took new headshots finally. It's like 4 years old. Gotta get new headshots in there. Gotta get the new headshots. Hate taking headshots. Ladies and gentlemen, we will be there nonetheless, live and rocking and rolling, carrying forward Charlie's energy and legacy And it'll be our great honor. It'll be a fun, massive stadium event, and we are going to rip roar. And it's going to be a blast. Please join us if you are in the area. You can join us also on a live stream. You can sign up today. Turning Point Tour at Auburn University live with Eric and Laura Trump. It is going to be an absolute blast. Ladies and gentlemen, we will also be traveling this week. Got a lot of interesting things in the hopper. We're very excited about it. We've got to make sure that we stay healthy, stay locked in. 120 Life is how we ensure that my very, very high blood pressure comes down a little bit. My wife's been working on this. It's a lot of things you can do. Better eating, better exercise, time outdoors in the sun, playing with your kids. I did all that this morning. All of that has already been done in my day. It's great to just lock it up and get it out of the way. And then follow it up with a tasty drink, 120 Life, made out of 5 key ingredients that lower your blood pressure and do it all naturally. This is why doctors have recommended it. Thousands of medical professionals have recommended 120 Life. It shows visible, measurable changes in your blood pressure. High blood pressure is a real killer. 1 in 2 Americans, yikes, 50% of Americans have high blood pressure. I am one of them. I think it's some of it is natural. Everybody has a ticker problem in their family. Some of it is because we do this for a living. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, like me, lower your blood pressure. Call 120 Life today. Save 20% with the code Benny at checkout 120life, life.com. Code Benny to save 20%. Code Benny to save 20%. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I want to hop over. Let's just go into the good news before we get into some of the darker news about January 6th, the pipe bomb, and what's actually happening here, because everything has changed over the last week. We seem to be the only show that's paying attention, but it is our obligation to ensure that we are constantly staying on this story. It is a critically important story because the pipe bomber, it's turning out, is the key to everything. But ladies and gentlemen, before we get there, let's talk about the man who the pipe bomber was intended to destroy. Well, was that Kamala Harris because she was by one of the pipe bombs? Don't you worry, we'll get into that today. Why was Kamala Harris at the DNC that day? Why have they never made anything of the fact that Kamala Harris went into the DNC and walked right by one of these pipe bombs? Has anybody ever explained that? Doesn't make any sense. Like that she was about to be, installed as the vice president, and what the hell was she doing wandering into the DNC that day? And why haven't they ever played that up? You think that would be like the number one thing they'd want to talk about. That Kamala Harris, first black female vice president, whatever, like bingo card, woke bingo card, that she just scraped death by walking right by that pipe bomb. Why hasn't, God forbid, right? So wait a second, like if that's the only terrorist on January 6th that I want to find, why wouldn't they go full in on this? They're smart, these people that control these narratives. They're intelligent. There's a reason why they have never gone after the pipe bomber. There's a reason why the tactical teams at the FBI that were tasked with finding the pipe bomber were reassigned once they got too close. Once they had a suspicious individual identified, there's a reason why all of the cell phone data was corrupted, not by the data companies, not by the cell phone companies, but by the actual federal government. And there's a reason why you know nothing about the pipe bomber from the actual PR about January 6th. Wouldn't that be great PR? Kamala Harris, she walked right by a pipe bomb. Evil MAGA. Put them all in jail. Why didn't they ever run with that narrative? Wouldn't that be an obvious narrative to run with? Ooh, there are some very interesting and very, very dark pieces of evidence that are out today. Apparently this op was bigger than we thought. But the point is that the pipe bomber, this is my estimation, I'll just come right off the top of the dome since we've done 20, 30 shows on the pipe bomber. I want you to know my suspicions off the top before we get into some of the better news about Donald Trump. We're going to go to the dancing clip, by the way, Klein, so just make sure that you have that loaded up. I want those loaded up from like every angle. I know there's like 5 of them. Please get them all. I want to start with happy news because it's Monday and everyone needs a little pep in their step today. My contention, and this is based on, I'm not sure, man. Do you think that we've streamed longer than anyone else on the pipe bomber? Probably. I think that we've streamed probably longer than anyone else. Hey, producers, I know there's like 5 different like angles of Trump dancing. I want to play them all. Again, I want to start. I know we're going to spend a lot of the show on this dark topic, so I want to just start with a little joy and happiness. Trump's bringing that to the world right now. The pipe bombers' role in all of this, based on all of the hundreds of hours we've streamed on this, the dozens of hours of expert testimony from guests, witnesses, independent journalists, some of the smartest people in the world, including but not limited to the people that are actively running the agencies of federal law enforcement today. My take is pretty clear on what I believe happened. I believe that the pipe bomber was an individual whose role, while it might not be known to them, was instructed via federal authorities, knowingly or unknowingly. I'm not sure. You don't know. You watch the clips of the pipe bomber, you can tell they don't know what the hell they're doing. We'll prove that to you today. Pipe bomber has no idea what the hell they're doing on January 6th. They're wandering around. They're unsure where they're going. They're constantly on their phone, trying to get orders. You can tell they're on their phone trying to get orders. You don't know, is it the Gretchen Whitmer thing? Is this an op that's being run? And the Fed on the other end of the line, they think they're doing something. I don't know. You don't know. I'm not sure. My suspicion is that the pipe bomber is in fact a Fed. Why? Why plant those bombs? Bombs. We'll get into whether these are actual bombs or not. The reason why you would do that is because if you have a bomb scare in DC, then you can redivert all law enforcement on the Capitol grounds. These bombs are discovered right when President Trump starts speaking at the White House, which is pretty far away from the Capitol. But they're discovered there in order to draw away federal law enforcement from the Capitol building. So the Capitol building would be entirely exposed. If the National Guard had been deployed there, then it still would not have been a problem. But given the fact that it was just an understaffed, ragtag group of overworked, overtimed Capitol Hill police officers, and then you send hundreds of those officers to the RNC and the DNC, you leave completely exposed the United States Capitol for bad actors to cut the tapes, to cut the little plastic fencing they have there, to encourage and entrap MAGA. That's what I believe in my heart of hearts. Now, we'll put that up to Julie Kelly, and we'll talk about it with the experts today. But that's what I actually believe in my heart of hearts happened here. I believe this was a diversionary tactic in order to guarantee the result, and that they had specifically placed, we've learned that there were 300 FBI agents in the crowd that day. They had specifically placed agents there, everyone from the scaffolding commander who stood up there with a bullhorn to talk, to yell, to give orders, right, for people, almost like a battlefield, to the individuals who showed up very early to cut the plastic fencing around the U.S. Capitol. I've never seen anyone in MAGA ever do that. Ladies and gentlemen, we just came back from Charlie Kirk's memorial. There were 300,000 people in the greater area of the 2 arenas at Charlie Kirk's memorial. 300,000 people. I didn't see gum left on the sidewalk. I didn't see people even jaywalking. No one was cutting fences. No one was behaving criminally. What an insane thing. What a wild thing for us to sit there and think that this is somehow the behavior of MAGA when we've never seen MAGA riot. We've never seen MAGA behave criminally ever before. This is a great tweet right here. Pop it up because this is probably the time to talk through this. Again, cycle through the photos. There are so many individuals here that do not behave like MAGA. First off, MAGA is not a terrorist organization. MAGA loves America. We would never bomb anything. Who are these guys with earpieces cutting the fencing? There was very sad plastic fencing set up around the Capitol. who are like, but people went there strategically in order to cut that fencing ahead of time. Does that guy look MAGA to you? Does that guy look like your average like guy showing up in Lansing, Michigan at a Trump rally at the state fair? Really? Really? I've been to thousands of Trump rallies. I've been to thousands of Trump events. What about this guy? The scaffolding commander. The guy who was there with his mask and his bullhorn ready to give battlefield orders ahead of time. Keep going. What about the masked man who just so happened to have himself set up a gallows with a noose right where the cameras would be able to capture it, right? So he just like ran over to like build this just in time for the cameras and the crowds to get there, right in front of where the press would be able to take the perfect photo of those gallows with the U.S. Capitol in background. Does that seem like MAGA to you? Is that MAGA? Really? Is that MAGA? All the 300, does this guy represent the 300,000 people that were like praying and doing like praise and worship at Charlie's memorial? It's all rotten, all of it. But it all stemmed, this right here, this guy. This is the key to everything. We're going to talk about it on the show today. Here's what they were trying to prevent. Either with a bomb or a bullet, they were trying to prevent Donald Trump from dancing in Malaysia. I just want to, it's going to be a dark show. So why not sprinkle a little bit of joy and happiness? Here's President Trump showing up in Malaysia, hitting the Trump dance with everyone. With a bunch of like, I don't know what it's called. It's probably a historic Malaysian dance, I'd assume. Like something that is, let's get some sound here. Klein, please. All right. So everyone's dancing. Another one like. This is the. By the way, we live on East Coast time. This was happening at approximately 2 a.m. Trump's time. Trump flies from Malaysia on his plane and then he's doing this while the rest of us are sleeping. I am in bed by 9 p.m. every single night. So, trust me, ladies and gentlemen, I am like, it is very impressive. Look at him go. So, guys, I'm like, because this is what they were trying to prevent. They were trying to prevent true love. Look at the, here we go. Way to go, guys. I asked for like 4 or 5 different angles of this. I love it. Look at him go. Heartwarming. This is what they were trying to kill. They shot a bullet in this man's head. They planted bombs in order to destroy his movement. They ran an op to attack the United States Capitol from the inside. Never forget the FBI agents that put on, oh, this is a great angle. Well done, team. Great angle. You got the Malaysian flag and the American flag. Shockingly similar, actually. Didn't know that. Do you know that, Klein? Okay. I wouldn't be able to tell you what I wouldn't be able to draw the Malaysian flag, but here's Donald Trump doing some flag action. There you go. Like the guys on the runway. Ah, he took it from the crowd. Okay, got it. Well done. Donald Trump dancing, obviously in grand spirits, doing grand things. Man, that was a close-up of the ear. You might get a little bit of scar tissue there from the actual bullet. They did everything to keep this man from resetting the world order, but he's here and he's doing it right now, just through the power of God, or quite frankly, because there's just no reason that Trump should be a free man right now. He should either be in prison. That's what the op was for January 6th. January 6th op was obviously set up. That's what Jack Smith and his special counsel was about to do. They were about to place Donald Trump in prison. They were going to try him. Klein, would you please put up this tweet that you have there? They were going to try him. They were going to, probably these individuals would be on the jury. These would be the people that would be on Trump's jury. You cycle through them. They'd probably have the pipe bomber on the jury. All of these individuals would probably apply to be jurors in Donald Trump's January 6th trial brought by Jack Smith. And they were going to try. They were going to succeed in putting Trump in jail. Mark my words. For January 6th, that's what this was all about. Of course, they succeeded in putting thousands of his supporters in jail, again, because of this lie. And this is what they wanted to destroy. Now they themselves are being destroyed. And President Trump is romping throughout the world. Can we show the Prime Minister of Japan? Sanae Takachi. Sanae Takachi is a brand new Prime Minister of Japan, the first female Prime Minister of Japan in history. Japan is a very historically patriarchal society. Japan has been around, Japanese culture has been around for thousands of years. They have emperors in Japan. They've had the position of Prime Minister for 200 years. This is the first female Prime Minister. So you'd assume, since the glass ceiling has been shattered in this society, that all of Japan, like all the feminists around the world, Hillary Clinton, everyone, women's lib, Kamala Harris, every famous feminist, all the women of the View would be squeeing about this accomplishment, but they're not. The reason why is because Sanae Takache, which is the name of the Japanese Prime Minister, she is right-wing, probably as right-wing as Donald Trump, if not more so. Sanae Takache says Japan is for the Japanese. She is Japan first. Her hero is Margaret Thatcher. She actually wears, she actually bases her fashion sense on Margaret Thatcher. Japan has like 3% criminal alien population or migrant workers. She ran on deporting all 3%. What would that percentage be in America? Probably double that, if not more. She ran on deporting all of them. And she says, what's so wrong with being proud of Japan? What's so wrong with saying the island of Japan and our principalities are for Japanese people and Japanese people alone? This is what she says. And it's, oh man, it's an absolutely beautiful thing. She doesn't like Chinese culture. She doesn't like Chinese communists. Obviously, this is something that is ancient, but very good in the modern day landscape. And she wants to reinvest in the Japanese family. She's also a hardcore. Do we have any footage of this? Do we have any footage? Yeah, put that up. That's awesome. Yes, she's a heavy metal drummer. ALX, has there ever been any footage of her drumming in a heavy metal band? So this is part of the headline, that she is a heavy metal drummer. Ah, cool. So fast. Man, the team is just killing it today. You guys are like just killing it. This is called the ALX AI and Klein AI. Klein. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, they're so quick today. It's like bing, bing, bing. Look at her. Look at her drumming. Here she is. She's a heavy metal drummer. Some of her favorite bands are Iron Maiden, and I think some other legendary bands. I can't remember off the top of the dome like what her favorite bands are. That's just awesome. Oh, come on. Come on. And why, it boggles the mind. Why aren't feminists celebrating her? Really? I thought that feminism was about women and about empowering women. Well, she's the first woman to lead one of the world's strongest economies. She's a total badass. She smashed the patriarchy. And here she is smashing a drum kit. Whatever. Good for her. I don't know any other 64-year-old Japanese ladies that do heavy metal drumming. Where's all the feminists? What happened to Cat Got Your Tongue? Cat lady? Where'd they go? Where the hell are they? Why are they so silent? Because feminism isn't about women at all. Feminism, the modern and postmodern version of feminism, is entirely about left-wing Marxism, globalism, and using women as a vessel, as simply a mules, as using women as mules in order to install left-wing Marxism and globalism, who are run by like people who look like George Soros. It has nothing to do with women. It has nothing to do with female empowerment. In fact, it does the exact opposite. And so, of course, they won't be celebrating Sanae Takachi. But nonetheless, we are going to celebrate her, and we do. Here is her account on X. Obviously, it's all in Japanese, so good luck with that. I don't speak Japanese. Maybe you do. Klein, do you speak Japanese? Klein does not speak Japanese. Okay. Klein Wong does not speak Japanese. He's going to work on it, though. He promises. Here we go. She says, looking forward to having Donald Trump here today. She's going to be meeting Donald Trump. Special lighting in honor of President Trump's visit is now illuminating landmarks across Tokyo. Let's look. Tokyo, has anybody on the team ever been to Tokyo? I'm going to check my producer's chat. Has anybody been to Tokyo? We have a well-traveled team here. ALX hasn't. Danny probably has. Okay. I'm not sure. We have a egalitarian. Oh, that's so cool. Klein put that up. Oh, it's so awesome. We found it. The team found it. Here she is, heavy metal drumming. This is not AI. Is this AI? This is so cool. No freaking way. So cool. Have you been to Jerry said he flew over Japan twice. Not sure if that's a joke, Jerry. If it is, dark joke. But nonetheless, Japan lighting up their biggest monuments in red, white, and blue. Beautiful. This is what they tried to kill. This is what they wanted to kill. They wanted to destroy. And amazing how you never saw this with Joe Biden. Nobody ever lit up anything for Joe Biden. Maybe like the purple color for like dementia, Make-A-Wish people. I don't know. Maybe that, like the sad, like, sad, like dementia, like old people, whatever. Wear the ribbon kind of thing. That's what people would light up for Joe Biden. Look at this. These are some, I don't know the names of these buildings, but they look gorgeous. Tokyo as seen by night. This is Monica Crowley, our dear friend, flying with President Trump in a Black Hawk. Does she see any of the red, white, and blue buildings? Okay, just a cool shot from her. Okay, neat. Here's one though. Look at that. That's awesome. The Tokyo Tower. That looks like the Eiffel Tower, honestly. But yeah, red, white, and blue. Look at them go. That's amazing. That's amazing. Landmark illuminations welcoming Donald Trump to Japan. Just love it. America's back, baby. America's back. Oh no, okay. We're cooked. Okay, it might have been AI. We'll see. Okay, it might have been AI. We'll see. I don't know. Who knows? The point is, ladies and gentlemen, is that America is respected again. That's because Donald Trump did survive all the assassination attempts, both legally, judicially, literally, politically, on his life. And President Trump is going to be locking in Tokyo today. So I hope for more dancing. I don't know. Do we have Donald Trump Japanese dancing yet? I don't know. Is he going to dump all the food into the sacred koi pond again? I hope so, in honor of Shinzo. Shinzo. ALX tells me we can't play my favorite meme of Shinzo Abe and President Trump. ALX, can we please play it? Please. I beg of you, as we get ready for our next sponsor. Could we please play it, ALX? I'm begging, ALX. Can we play the Shinzo Abe preventing Donald Trump from getting shot? It would be the perfect way to cap off this and then move on to the pipe bomber. All right, let's do it. Let's do it. Let's do it one more time. Let's do it. Just one more. All right, here we go. Here's what we might expect. This is what they wanted to do to Trump. We're moving into the pipe bomber story here in just a moment. This is what they want to do to Trump. A reminder that Shinzo Abe in this documentary footage, is this documentary, where is this from? This is from C-SPAN? This is documentary footage. National Geographic. Okay, so Klein says National Geographic. So this is the National Geographic documentary footage of what actually happened in Butler. Remarkable they were able to get their hands on this. Here we go.
That's a little bit old.
we played that meme like 1,700 times, and it was like on the 17,000th time that like Klein goes, you know, it says have sex at the end. I didn't actually know that, but as long as you've fallen in love and it's with one woman and you're married, you should actually and have millions of babies. That is, we fully endorse that on this program. That's God's chart. That's the first thing God said to Adam. Go be fruitful. He says, here's your smoke show Eve. Like, go be fruitful. It's the first command. It's the first command. We're going to the Genesis right now. That was the first command, not the 10 commandments. The first commandment was go and be fruitful, multiply, make babies. God's first command to Adam. All the rest of the commands are very important. The Beatitudes, the Sermon on the Mount, all of that. But the first command was go be fruitful, multiply. So, you know what? Not going to shy away from that. We are not ashamed. All right, ladies and gentlemen. You should be fruitful. You should multiply. It's hard to do that when you're in debt slavery. American financing can help you out of debt slavery. Credit card debt, of course, is absorbent, evil. Those rates are insane. Called usury rates is what our grandparents used to call them. 20 and 30% credit card debt. I don't want that for you. It's something that's spiraling out of control in this country, and it's an absolute shame. You hate to see it with the bills piling up, especially around the holidays. Get out of that high-interest credit card debt today. American financing is trusted by thousands of Americans to refinance their debt and get rates in the low 5s instead of the high 30s or 20s. Their salary-based mortgage consultants can help homeowners like you today save big. So, call today. Call now. Before it's too late. American Financing, 888-528-1219. That's 888-528-1219, americanfinancing.net/Benny. All right, here we go. Top line. What's going on with Spike Bomber? Here's the, let's just go through some of this, because Julie Kelly's going to join the show to talk about it. I also would like to talk about it with Wesley Hunt, who will be on the program pretty soon. But here's from Julie Kelly's website, a brand new bombshell story that brings and calls into question the validity of the witnesses. This pipe bomb. From lucky neighbor to unreliable witness, recently released FBI records show numerous inconsistencies with Karen Younger, the law enforcement-tied individual who allegedly found a pipe bomb near the Republican National Committee on January 6th. Look at how close it is to that rat trap. What a perfect metaphor for Washington. What a perfect metaphor. So a Fed op plus a rat trap. Yeah, okay, got it. A grand jury, according to recent reports, will be impaneled early next year in the Southern District of Florida to consider a grand conspiracy against those accused of using government power for a decade-long crusade aimed at destroying Donald Trump and the MAGA movement. The origin of the conspiracy dates back to the days of Russiagate scandal, but of equal or arguably greater importance are the events surrounding January 6th. I would agree with Julie Kelly on that one. While Russiagate undoubtedly inflicted tremendous damage on the Trump presidency, the first Trump presidency, it is clear that the purpose of January 6th was to put Trump in prison. The label insurrection was a way to prohibit him from ever occupying the office again, based on the Insurrection Act. Of course, it also put thousands of his supporters in prison. Some of them I know, some of them who are guests of this program with regularity. Makes me very angry. To this day, my blood will boil thinking about it. The scheme almost succeeded. Well, it did succeed in destroying the lives of many thousands of people who were Trump supporters. Which is why, oh, and by the way, like leaving me in fear every single day. I was at January 6th. No, I didn't break into the Capitol. No, I didn't walk through the wide open doors from that the cops laid open. But I was invited. You know, I was living in D.C. and I was close with the administration. I sat in the front row. I've told the story a million times, right next to Alex Jones. I was there. I watched Alex Jones like look at his phone when he realized that the Capitol had been breached and get up. I've told the story a million times, but it's just worth retelling. Alex Jones has such an instinct on these things, and I'm trying to develop a better instinct on it. But Alex, of course, has been doing it for generations, for decades. When Alex Jones saw on his phone the first alert that the Capitol had been breached, Trump was still speaking. Alex knew exactly what was about to happen. He knew exactly the op that was about to go down, and he got up so fast that his chair flipped and started sprinting across a Secret Service secured empty field adjacent to the president, with Secret Service running after him. I have the video on my phone somewhere. it's not worth hunting through and finding it right now. It's a 5-year-old video. But I have the video on my phone of Alex Jones. Like, he lost his mind. He lost his mind. He realized what was about to happen. He had to get his ass to the United States Capitol as fast as possible. And then you can see Alex Jones on a bullhorn telling people to turn around, go back. Alex Jones was there on a bullhorn being like, doing the opposite of what the scaffolding commander did. Screaming, do not go into the Capitol. This is a trap. This is a trap. Then they went and silenced Jones. You wonder why. Isn't it amazing? Alex Jones, he went to the Capitol, wasn't charged with anything. Isn't that fascinating? Alex Jones doing the exact opposite of Ray Epps. We need to go into the Capitol days ahead of time. We need to go into the Capitol. That's where our problems are. We're going to go into the Capitol. Everyone's like, what? No. What are you talking about? I digress. But ladies and gentlemen, just the fact that I was invited, like my family's lived, I understand these J6ers. I really do. I know so many of them. My family's lived in absolute fear with the assumption, actually, check with my wife, the assumption that the feds would like kick in my door at any time over the last 4 years because I was invited to January 6th. Again, no, I didn't go to the Capitol. I did. I saw it from a distance. I was like, something very dark is going on there. I didn't have the exact same instinct as Alex Jones, but I had kind of the same instinct. I was like, this is an op. Like, something's wrong. Something's wrong, right? But yeah, well, I mean, just being invited was enough, right? Being invited is enough to get indicted. Just because I went to that Trump speech was enough. Like, I would assume that I was going to be put in prison for that, for going to the Trump speech on the Ellipse that day. So I've lived with it. You wonder why this is such a big deal for me, because I've lived with it. By the way, they were absolutely locking up people. They locked up people. They put Enrique Taro in prison for 22 years. He wasn't at January 6th. They put him in jail for 22 years. Since been freed and pardoned and commuted his sentence by Trump. But like, why not? Why not all of us? Like, why not everyone? Me, Charlie, everybody who helped plan who helped plan the speech. Anybody who asked for a permit, a legal permit, which was granted. Like, they just wrap everyone up and throw them all in prison. This would be like the perfect opportunity. This was their opportunity to take every single person who was elemental in the MAGA movement, and you could just cast this huge net, and that was enough. I took an Uber on January 6th in D.C. That's enough. I took an Uber back to my place. That was enough. I took the Uber. I went from Trump's speech back to my place. Boom, put him in jail. That's what they were doing. Dude was in Baltimore. He got 22 years. He wasn't even there. The scheme almost succeeded, which remains imperative to expose the full truth about every detail of that day's events. The 5-year anniversary of January 6th approaches. The window of opportunity to bring charges against many of the perpetrators before the statute of limitation kicks in is closing. 2 factors were central in the ensuring of intended chaos at the Capitol that day. The delayed deployment of the National Guard and the discovery of 2 pipe bombs outside of the headquarters of the DNC and RNC. Both devices were found right before the RNC and right after the DNC joint sessions of Congress convened at 1 p.m. to debate the outcome of the 2020 election, certified Joe Biden as the winner. News that the explosives were found just blocks from the U.S. Capitol prompted the first wave of evacuations of nearby congressional office buildings that afternoon and resulted in an air of panic in early media coverage. At a press conference a few days later, top law enforcement official insisted the devices were viable and deadly, and that a felony murder charges could await the persons responsible. Okay, good. What's insane about all of this is that the left is missing this grand opportunity to have me agree with them. I do agree that the person who planted these bombs, whatever they actually were, does deserve to be charged federally. One of the few people on January 6th that does deserve to be charged is an actual terrorist. I do agree with that. So find them. Why aren't you giving America this opportunity for unity? We all agree with you, libs. So go find this person. Yes, this person committed a terrorist act. No, you shouldn't fight cops, and no, you shouldn't plant bombs. I don't care who you are. Strange that libs haven't taken this grand opportunity to unite the country over all this. The FBI immediately released a photo of a hoodie-clad individual carrying a backpack and wearing a face mask. Authorities later published a grainy video of that same suspect meandering around Capitol Hill between 7:30 and 8:30 p.m. on January 5th, the time the FBI believes the devices were planted. Last week, the FBI issued another plea for help identifying this individual in a video that offered a $500,000 reward. Ever since the story was first published, however, the official pipe bomb narrative has been unraveling, raising new questions about the process. Major props to Revolver News for its vital investigative work and the inconsistencies. We've covered that, of course, with Darren Beatty, who now works in the Trump administration, is running the Institute of Peace. Isn't that something? How, for example, did the bomb-sniffing canines miss the device outside the DNC at least 2 occasions? Why did Kamala Harris, at the time, sitting U.S. Senators, incoming vice president, leave the Capitol and go to the DNC headquarters that historic afternoon? How did police officers in multiple agencies and dozens of pedestrians fail to notice the bombs, sitting between 2 benches outside of the main entrance of the DNC for 17 hours? Much of the attention is focused on the DNC device. The circumstances around the discovery of the RNC is even more suspicious. The documents recently released by the Sub-Select Committee of January 6th should be of great interest to Congress and the FBI. These relate to a woman who found the pipe bomb at the RNC. Her name is Karen Younger, self-described lucky neighbor who is heralded as a hero by the media. Following January 6th and inexplicably disappeared. Then inexplicably disappeared from law enforcement's radar. Okay. Let's keep going, shall we? I find this quite interesting. At the time of the incident, Younger, employed by FirstNet, an independent agency within the Department of Commerce that manages and dedicated broadband networks, first responders, and major breaking events and disasters. What? Wait a second. So she's a Fed that manages first responders during major breaking events? Okay. All right, okay. A little suspicious there. Her ties to FirstNet raise additional suspicions, which will be covered up in a follow-up piece. Younger had 2 known contacts within the FBI. She emailed an FBI tip line on January 8th, the day after the Bureau issued a bulletin with a photo of the suspect to identify herself as the individual who discovered the RNC pipe bomb. On both occasions, Younger said that she was working remotely from her apartment and took a break to do laundry and eat her lunch. In interviews conducted just hours after she met with FBI investigators, Youngers repeated the line about having lunch and doing laundry. An odd aspect of her behavior, however, that the subsequent interviews were given strictly to news outlets from her home in the state of Wisconsin, city of Madison, where she grew up. Surveillance footage corroborates Younger's laundry-oriented story. She left her apartment at exactly noon, carrying what appears to be a laundry bag, and entered the alley between the RNC and the Capitol Hill Club, nearby communal but isolated laundry room. At 12:03, she reemerged and returned to her apartment. This marked the first full trip from the alley, during which she said she began her first load of laundry. But Younger told 2 different stories as she went back to the laundry room shortly before 12:40, 20 minutes before the historic proceedings on Capitol Hill. Younger told reporters that she returned to the laundry room to put her first load of clothes in the dryer. She offered a perfect, one might say, law enforcement type description of the device, despite only having seen it for a few seconds. And then there is the breakdown of what she told to reporters. But that's not what she had told the FBI investigators about why she returned to the laundry room. On her way back to the laundry room with the second load of laundry at approximately 12:40, Younger observed a suspicious device next to the exterior gate. The CCTV footage, however, appears to contradict what she told authorities about her return trip. Video shows Younger exiting her apartment empty-handed at 12:33, the same trip she described as being with a second load in hand. She entered the alley minutes later and reemerged, running towards the front of the Capitol Hill Club, apparently having just discovered the bomb. Why did Younger tell a different story to reporters within hours of her interview with the FBI? The subheadline of the January 12th Madison Magazine piece is Younger noted that after the FBI interviewed Madison native Carolyn Younger about the discovery of the pipe bomb, so did reporter Doug Moe. Younger told the reporter that she went back to put her clothes in the dryer. One might be inclined to write off these inconsistencies as minor fog of war oversight of a distraught woman befuddled in the momentous deadly incident. Younger's demeanor in interview, strangely, does not indicate anything like this, however. It does suggest the severity of the situation that she found herself in, but her laundry story is not the only inconsistency of Younger's account of what happened that day. Younger's interaction with the FBI did more than just describe her role in discovering the device. Younger also attempted to blame suspicious woman, intimating at one point that the woman was a Trump supporter, and she allegedly encountered in front of the Capitol Hill Club, and she couldn't keep her story straight. In her January 8th online tip to the FBI, Younger claimed that she was passed by a woman in front of the Capitol Hill Club who stared at me suspiciously in a way that now makes me think that she had knowledge of what was in the alleyway. She then described the woman in detail. Caucasian, middle-aged, shorter, heavier set, with long, dark hair. But just like her laundry tip story, her description of the brief encounter changed a few days later. Younger then told the investigators on January 11th that she had not seen anybody suspicious on January 6th and noticed an unknown woman in front of the Capitol Hill Club that looked like she was from out of town. Younger further claimed that the woman had the same excited energy as the other protesters. Surveillance video, however, contradicts her allegations of a suspicious woman. At no point, whether walking in front of the alley or anywhere, did Younger pass anyone matching any description that she had written. Did her first trip at noon? Nobody was standing in front of the Capitol Hill Club as Younger headed towards the alley. On her trip back to the apartment, she did pass one person in front of the building, but at no point was, but at that point, she was no longer walking toward the alley. That individual was standing with his back to her. Younger was facing the building. The movement suggests that neither even saw each other. At 12:34, she passed Capitol Hill Club again on her way back to the alley. Moments before discovering the device, no one matching Younger's description was in front of the building. Instead, security footage shows her passing an individual as she rounded the corner of the building. This person appeared to be wearing a baseball cap, scarf, and a camel-colored trench coat, not a MAGA jacket. There you go. All right, contradictions, and then the real bombshell. And then, ladies and gentlemen, we'll get to a congressional overview of all of this. Klein, I definitely want to be able to play the brand new FBI footage as well during this, because that I think is very important. Younger appears to be the only individual with direct knowledge of the events that disputes the FBI's timeline of when the RNC device was planted. I can confirm that the device must have been planted between 12 p.m. and 12:40 p.m. It was not present when I went down to the area to start the laundry. This is quite an assessment and flies directly in the face of a nearly 5-year claim by law enforcement that the explosives were placed the night of January 5th. Why did Younger make such a definitive statement about when she believed the device was planted? Why did she fail to tell investigators during the same interview on January 11th? After all, the only person to have had any specific to have been in that specific area between noon and 12:40 was Karen Younger. It's unclear why Younger's bombshell disclosure has been concealed for years, or whether the FBI ever followed up with her about the numerous inconsistencies embedded throughout her account. Each discrepancy, the empty-handed second load, vanishing suspicious woman, and the timeline that narrowly squares around her own movements, undermines the only eyewitness account in which the FBI's chronology still depends. Whether by error, embellishment, or design, the story of the RNC pipe bomb begins and ends with Carolyn Younger. And what followed didn't just change her credibility, it dismantled it entirely, beginning with the single most important detail about her story, the timer on the device that Younger claimed was set to coincide with the start of the joint session of Congress. Uh-oh. It sounds like this is going to be a long series. It sounds like Julie Kelly has even more here. And again, the FBI released this footage, late last week, of the pipe bomber walking around, their shoes, their path, the pipe bomber on the phone, constantly on the phone, constantly on his cell phone. I just assume it's a he. And where that pipe bomber was going that day. Now, in this, we have tons of new footage. This is brand new footage. Brand new footage of the pipe bomber. We've never seen it before. The FBI has been sitting on this for years. Where is it? Ladies and gentlemen, brand new information, brand new footage of the pipe bomber's path and where I'm just going to say he, I actually don't know, went. You've seen that before. New footage as well. Why nobody has actually released the unedited DNC footage. More new footage. More new footage. Here we go. We've never actually seen this. This is the alleyway at the RNC. This is the alleyway at the RNC when allegedly the bomber planted the device. Look at that. On the phone, 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 on the phone. The only phone in the history of the federal government that cannot be hacked. That we don't know who this individual was talking to. Goodness gracious. And this is the RNC alleyway. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, Julie Kelly, who is the master of this story and has done so much work on trying to uncover what truly happened here. Here you can see this. There's brand new footage. Brand new footage. Where the hell is all this footage been? Brand new footage. I know this area very well. I lived in D.C. Perhaps you've been there. Perhaps you've been to the RNC building in D.C. or the Capitol Hill Club. Many people have. So where'd the bag go? Where'd that roller bag go? So many questions. And this is where they say the eventual bomb was planted. Crazy. All right. It's, listen, I don't know what kind of device this Fed was using. Probably not a Patriot Mobile one. Terrible lead-in. Patriot Mobile is the device that we use on this program to stay locked in and connected. Patriot Mobile, ladies and gentlemen, is freedom. It is the only Christian conservative wireless provider. Most cell phone providers do not care about you. They just want your money. Patriot Mobile is different. For 12 years, they've stood with Americans who believe in faith, family, and freedom, contributing millions to Christian and conservative causes. The best part is that Patriot Mobile, you don't have to sacrifice quality or service. You'll enjoy the same or better premium coverage as major carriers. Go to patriotmobile.com/Benny or call 972-PATRIOT now. Use promo code Benny for a free month of service. That's patriotmobile.com/Benny. Ladies and gentlemen, before we pop over to Julie Kelly, I want to talk with Wesley Hunt, who is a member of Congress who has always spoken very, very honestly about the style of investigations. He's on the Judiciary Committee, and I don't know if he's actually on the brand new January 6th committee. Let's go ahead and ask why the hell we're just getting all this information now. Wesley, forgive me for being a little late here. I wanted to get through all of that reporting. Something that has astonished us is that Congress has been able to carry on this up through the January 6th committee with Nancy Pelosi and has not had a ton of curiosity about what actually happened on January 6th. Now it seems like that may change with a brand new January 6th committee. You're on the Judiciary Committee. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you're going to be on the Barry Loudermilk Committee, but what's your take on all of this?
Well, Benny, first of all, I'm really glad that you're talking about this because Democrats continue to bring this up every single day. All you still hear from them is January 6th, January 6th, January 6th. This is after they got shellacked in this last election. And I also want people to understand that a United States president got deplatformed because of January 6th. Right. So the good thing about this is that we are not going to let this go, and we are continuing to fight back. We also know there are a lot of inconsistencies that happened on January 6th that are now being explained and are finally coming out. The problem that I have with this, and that is, why is this happening now, and why is this happening so late? And why haven't we uncovered and released this footage years ago? Why did it take so long for even Republicans? And like I said, I don't mean to point the finger at us, but this comes on our back too, because at the end of the day, you have to understand that we've been in charge for months. We have held the House for the past 3 years, and so the fact that we're just now getting to this and we haven't been fighting back for the last few years is a bit disturbing to me as well. Again, better late than never. I'm glad we're looking at this, but this new evidence has to get investigated to a T. We have to take this all the way to the mat. We have to take this to the finish line, and people need to be in handcuffs. That's what I hear over and over and over again from my constituents here in Congressional District 38 and statewide now that I'm running for Senate. And that is, we are sick of the talk. Let's have some action. I know it's been a few years, but to a lot of people, it may seem like this is too little too late. It's not. And as long as they keep bringing this up, we have got to continue to fire back. I was on Bill Maher's show a few months ago, and even Bill Maher brought this up a couple of months ago. And so if they're going to continue to fight this, if they're going to continue to bring this up, if they're going to use this as a rallying cry for the next election, even though they just lost every single swing state, they lost a popular vote, 85% of the counties in this country swung toward the Republican side and swung toward President Trump. Even with all that being said, you are still going to use January 6th as your rallying cry. Well, let's talk about how fake it was. Let's talk about what happened behind closed doors.
Yes.
Let's bring out all this new footage, and then let's elucidate the entire country as to exactly what really happened there, so we can take that ammunition away from them and we can focus on what President Trump has done for the past year.
You're seeing so many. I mean, so this is interesting. You're so much closer to the fire than I am, Congressman. I do not go to work in D.C. every single day. Thank God. I said my prayers and I said, please, Lord, deliver me from this place. And he sent me to Florida. It's wonderful. I'm sure you're always happy to be back home in Texas and not in D.C.
Oh, yeah.
But you see it a lot closer than I do. But, I've noticed something curiously, and I'm going to pull up this new Nancy Pelosi footage, because Nancy Pelosi had like this meltdown recently on a reporter where she like screamed and like was frothing. You can see it. Her dentures nearly fly out of her mouth when she's being asked about January 6th. And she's being asked on the record about deployment of the National Guard. Now, this has been proven time and time again. We have all the documents to prove it, that she didn't deploy the National Guard. Klein, can you turn the audio on here?
Committee finding you liable for that day.
Right here.
Why did you refuse the National Guard on January 6th?
Shut up. I did not refuse the National Guard. The president didn't send it. Why are you coming here with Republican talking points as if you're a serious journalist?
So the lady doth protest too much is how Shakespeare would put that. Have you ever seen Nancy Pelosi fly off the handle like that? What does that say to you when it comes to asking the right questions about January 6th?
Well, she's terrified. I mean, imagine being asked that question some years later, and then now President Trump is in the White House, and he's not playing any games. And so, first of all, President Trump absolutely asked her. We all know this this all to be fact. President Trump absolutely asked her if she would deploy the National Guard.
Yes.
If you've noticed over the course of the past few weeks, the National Guard is very effective in D.C. because nobody is dying because of President Trump wants to protect our citizens. That's why he asked her to do it in the first place. She clearly denied it because she knew it would be effective, and she wanted to see what would happen and what the political ramifications would be if she did nothing. And they really wanted their rallying cry, which is, look at all these unhinged MAGA warriors that are destroying the Capitol. And at the end of the day, not a single person died that day other than Ashley Babbitt, who was murdered, and she was unarmed, and she was murdered by a black Capitol police officer. And imagine if that had been the other way around. And all they want to do is continue to show all this footage about, look how horrible this is. Look at these MAGA people going crazy. Look at these America First patriots losing their mind. This is all President Trump's fault, when all of this could have been quelled very, very quickly if the National Guard had been dispatched like the president asked. Also, the president asked repeatedly on Twitter, which was one of his last posts before he got reinstated by Elon Musk. He asked repeatedly for peace. He asked repeatedly for people to go home. He did not want to see people breaking into the Capitol. And also, I have been to dozens of Trump rallies.
Yes.
We're all peaceful. We never had any issues.
Yep.
The only time there was real violence at a Trump rally was when some unhinged liberal took a shot at President Trump, and thank God that he missed.
Yes.
So let's put all this in perspective. This is clearly an issue of us getting to the bottom of this, finding out the truth. The investigation is on. President Trump is not playing, and Nancy Pelosi, as she should be, is terrified. And whenever you see a reaction like that, that's the reaction of a caged animal. And let me tell you something, she needs to watch out.
I've been loving the fact that this is now resurfacing, because the weapons that are created will be used against you, right? And
That's right.
You are seeing the very quick unraveling of these narratives. You brought up Michael Byrd shooting Ashley Babbitt. Do you think there's ever going to be any type of full investigation into what happened? He was able to get off scot-free. In fact, I think he was promoted, actually.
Yeah, it's my understanding that he's been fully exonerated already. I mean, unless that gets relitigated and gets brought back to the forefront of the public, I don't know. But again, I want to reiterate this too. I mean, this is why I don't subscribe to the liberal Democrat brain virus, because at the end of the day, if that had been the other way around, I mean, imagine if that were a black security guard that was armed that shot at an unarmed sorry, if it were a white security guard that shot at an unarmed black person, imagine what that would have done in this country. There would have been the gnashing of teeth. The entire country would have burned to the ground.
Sure.
It would have been the summer of love on steroids. And yet nothing happened, and no one wants to talk about that. And no one was talking about that was the only person that died that day. And so at the end of the day, these people don't really have a leg to stand on. And now that we are in charge, it's incumbent upon us to continue to fight fire with fire. If they want to keep bringing this up, then we're going to further investigate what's going on. We're going to release all the new footage. We're going to set up a task force to actually do a deep dive in everything that's going on. And it's not going to end well for them. Again, it's all good and fun till the rabbit got the gun. And President Trump is the rabbit, and he's got the gun. And so it's very important for us to continue to push as they would do to us if the shoe were on the other foot.
Yes.
And that's what I tell people all the time. A lot of people are like, let's move on. Let's forget about this. They would not give us that benefit of the doubt. They certainly would not leave us alone. We have got to fight fire with fire.
Congressman, I know that you are running for Senate in Texas, and that is a very proud Trump-supporting state. I'm sure there's some people in that state that would love for Donald Trump to run for a third term. He was asked about this. And, President Trump, I think, how long is clip A? Should we play that? Okay. Donald Trump says, effectively, here we go. Trump answers whether he will run as vice president in 2028, which he would be allowed to do. And then he says that he would love to actually run against AOC and Jasmine Crockett. I know they're your two favorite members of Congress. They're very close to you. Jasmine Crockett from Texas. He says they have Jasmine Crockett, a low IQ person. AOC is a low IQ person. If you give her an IQ test, have her pass like the exams like I did at Walter Reed. They're very hard. Anyway, let's go against Jasmine and AOC. Let AOC go against Trump. Let Jasmine Crockett go against Trump. How would that work out, Congressman?
I mean, where do I begin? I mean, that would be a dream scenario for all of us. If either one of them ended up on that ticket, they're basically just giving it to us. That would be a layup for our party. I think also in that interview, he talked about, JD running again and potentially even teaming up with Marco Rubio, which would be an unstoppable band. And I don't disagree with that at all. We have a very deep bench on our side. And President Trump talked about how they don't really have a bench at all. I mean, if they're talking about Jasmine Crockett, AOC, Bernie Sanders, and Gavin Newsom, I mean, you cannot be serious. This election is right around the corner. They just got killed over the course of the past year because President Trump is moving so quickly that they can't even keep up. They got destroyed in the last election. The economy is doing well. Our border is now secure. People are safer. The world is safer. He's achieving world peace. He's traveling all over the place, spreading the good word about the America First agenda. And also, this man just won Texas by 15.7 points, which is really good for me because I was the first person in the country to endorse President Trump. I campaigned with President Trump. I was one of his top surrogates. And at the end of the day, I got to see my guy win, and I supported him from the very beginning. And that's actually the reason why I'm doing so well in this Senate race, is because people realize that Wesley is a true America First patriot that stands behind President Trump. And also people realize this: John Cornyn has not been that guy. He has not stood behind President Trump. And imagine this, brother. Imagine this. John Cornyn has spent $35 million in this race already before the filing deadline, and he is still losing. A 20-year incumbent, 24-year incumbent has spent that kind of money, and that's the kind of money that could be spent in Michigan and in Maine and in North Carolina and in Georgia, in places that we absolutely have to pick up. And he has spent that before the filing deadline, and we are still doing extraordinarily well, and he ain't winning this race when he should be polling in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. And you ask why. The reason is because the primary voter in Texas does not trust him because of what you just said. President Trump won Texas by 15 points. The world in this country wants America first fighters, and that's exactly what we're seeing on full display. Look, the president is pretty tongue-in-cheek when he talks about running for a third term, and I love it because it makes liberals' heads explode. But also, he has also deepened our bench. Look at our Secretary of State. Look at our Secretary of War. Look at JD. All these young guys that are in their 40s and early 50s. We are the future of this party, and the president is codifying that as we speak. It's not about just his term now. It's about having these America First patriots that can take us to the future, and I certainly fall in that category, and that's why I put my hat in the ring.
So, critically important that President Trump is able to prevent the spread to a state like Texas or Florida of what's happening in New York and California.
Yeah.
Here's Fox News reporting from this morning, Fox News exclusive. Mondami machine, how $2.5 million was funneled to him through Soros and Islamic activists to engineer his communist run to be in charge of America's largest city. It's horrifying what's happening there. It seems to be glossed over because a lot of people are just like, man, New York City itself is just going to get what it deserves here and is lost already. Can you diagnose this moment, a congressman, and as a future senator, potentially from Texas, how will you prevent this from happening to cities like Houston and Dallas and Austin?
Look, brother, you play stupid games, you win stupid prizes. New York has allowed this to happen, and now they're going to get Mamdani as their mayor in the largest city in this country, and he's going to turn that place into a complete and utter disaster. And we know it's coming because socialism doesn't work. And what I tell people all the time is sometimes you need to feel more pain. You know what I tell people? To answer your question about me being the next senator from Texas and about what I'm going to do, I'm going to simply point to what's going to happen in New York for the next 4 years. I'm going to look at the people in Houston and in Dallas and in San Antonio and Austin. I'm going to say, do you want that smoke? Because I really don't think you do. Let's let them lead by example, and then Texas and Florida leads from the front, and we do the exact opposite. We know it's working because people are fleeing to Texas and fleeing to Florida and fleeing to red states, and all those other blue states are losing congressional districts because their states are a complete and utter disaster. Texas and Florida are the two fastest growing states in the entire country. And why is that? Because we believe in freedom. We believe in secure borders. We believe in common sense legislation that doesn't focus on race, religion, color, or creed, but focuses on what's in the best interest of the taxpayer and the American person. That's literally all we care about. Let's lead from the front. Let's continue to take their congressional seats, empowering states like Texas and Florida, and let's just kick their butts, brother. That's all we have to do. But at the end of the day, I don't have to do anything. I just get to point to Detroit. I get to point to New York. I get to point to LA. I get to point to New York as a state, California as a state that's been run completely into the ground because of onerous and burdensome regulation, to the point to where companies are fleeing there and moving to Texas because why? We have a business-friendly state. All of these things start playing a role in what our future looks like. Let's empower Texas. Let's empower Florida. Let's move on, and let's win the next few elections so we can absolutely put a staple on what President Trump has done for the past few years and continue that America First agenda.
Look at this map. This is exactly what the congressman is talking about. Took us just 1 second, but Congressman, we got you. Look at those. -3, -4 from these left-wing states, New York and California collapsing. I don't even know how it's viable to win a national election in the current map in this scenario, where Florida and Texas gained 10 electoral votes, and California and New York, and then other blue states like Illinois and Oregon lose congressional seats.
Yes.
And you're also getting pickups in red states like Arizona and Utah and Idaho.
Yes.
Well, hold on. That's like a net swing. That's without redistricting, but that's like a net swing of 10 to 15 electoral votes there already. That's just the projections from the AP. These are probably like conservative projections.
This is what happens when AOC, Jasmine Crockett, Bernie Sanders, and Gavin Newsom are the leader of your party. And common sense people are paying attention to what's happening. They're looking at their First Amendment rights being infringed upon. They're looking at their Second Amendment rights being infringed upon. We have people that are open communists that are running for mayors of our major city in this country and our financial hub in New York City. People are looking around, especially in the flyover states, especially in Texas, especially in places like Florida, places in the Midwest like Iowa, where my wife is from. People are looking at that. They're like, that's just not what I want to see for my country. That simply is not what we fought for. That's not what a lot of the people that I served with in the military. That's not what they died for. They want this country to have good, common sense legislation. That is all. And liberals have gone so far left that they can't tell you the difference between a man and a woman. They continue to bring up January 6th. They don't want sovereign borders. They're trying to crater our economy. They want socialism, and it doesn't work in our society. It'll never work in our society. I pray that they keep on heading in that direction, because as the further left that they go, the better off it's going to be for all of us, because there's guys like you and me, brother, that look at this and we bleed red, white, and blue. This is not about race. It's not about religion. It's not about color. This is about, are you a red-blooded American or not? And do you want us to prosper for the future? And do you want to put our priorities as a country first? And you know what, brother? That's what every other country does. They put their priorities first. And that's exactly what President Trump is doing. And we have to codify this for the next 10, 20, 30 years.
You say it's not about race, Congressman, but for some people, it certainly is. For guys like Gavin Newsom, when he's doing a NBA podcast hosted by two black guys, boy, man, I got to tell you something. It's a remarkable phenomenon. Something just seems to change in a elitist white left-wing lib when they're talking to a black audience. See if you can spot the difference in the way that Gavin Newsom talks here.
But also, it was also about paying the bills, man. And it was just like hustling. And so I was like out there kind of raising myself, turning on the TV, started, just getting obsessed, sitting there with the Wonder Bread and 5 stacks of,
it's like the White Stack 5 story.
Come on. Kraft macaroni and cheese. Bro.
Are you talking about me?
Young YG.
YG, man.
Every day in the backyard, just bouncing the basketball, throwing the ball against the wall until the ball is just like fraying, man. And your arms yourself. That's it. Whole thing. So just, and then, then this student that was shitty student is in the back with his head down, all of a sudden started throwing the baseball a little faster than everyone else. And started, make a few free throws because I was sitting there practicing 500 of them every day.
So, Congressman, you've been on the show a lot.
I'm sorry.
I've had every opportunity to change my accent. I'm also raised in Iowa. Let me tell you, they don't talk about fat stacks of Wonder Bread, my man. In Iowa, they don't do that. Yeah. And I've never heard Gavin Newsom talk like this before.
We call this code switching.
Okay.
We call this code switching.
Why does it happen so much? I've never once talked with you about basketball.
Oh.
Like why? I don't understand. Because it's so cringe, and he was like dragged all weekend for this. What exactly is Gavin doing here?
This is exactly what you nailed. This is the efforts of white benevolent liberals that don't view us as equal at all. And by us, I mean black people. They talk down to us. They think we are too stupid to get an ID to vote. They think that we are incapable of following the law. They always want to give us handouts instead of hand-ups. The white benevolent liberal is the most racist person I've ever seen in the history of this country, and many of them don't even know it. The condescending tone in which they address us is utterly ridiculous. They think they can now talk to 2 black basketball stars, and then all of a sudden, I'm a brother now too because I'm hip and I'm down. And to be honest with you, it's quite condescending. It's actually quite disgusting because black men can think for ourselves. You cannot think that we are beneath you, that you are going to carry us and pat us on the head and say, come along, young boy, and let me show you the ways of the white man. We don't need you to do that. The only thing I want from you is to treat us as equals and to respect us. And that's why I'm a Republican, because that's all I see in my district. I tell people all the time, I'm running for Senate in the great state of Texas, and the primary voter is predominantly white. The district that I live in is a predominantly majority white district. And you know what they don't care? They don't care about the way I look. They care that I serve my country. They care that I love my country. I'm willing to die for my country, and I'm willing to give my last breath to make sure that we have America First policies in perpetuity. That's all they care about. And then what do you see liberals do? They try to pander to black people. They try to change their accent. They try to act like they're one of us. The funny thing is too, not only do we see it with Gavin, we saw it with Kamala Harris. We see it with Kamala Harris. We saw it with Hillary Clinton. She's pulling hot sauce out of her purse. Hot sauce. If you're a black person and you see somebody that's worth like a white woman that's worth hundreds of millions of dollars pulling out hot sauce out of her purse, that's absolutely disgusting. You should be ashamed of yourself. And this is the message that I send to people all the time. Look, this is America. This is a free country. Sure, we have the ills of our past, but by God, if there is no struggle, there is no progress. We have come a very, very long way. And somebody like me, who's the great-great-grandson of a slave that's running for the United States Senate in Texas, oh my God, this is the greatest country in the world. And I'm running as a strong conservative who is a Republican because I'm being judged not by the color of my skin, but by the content of my character. And people like Gavin Newsom think that people like me don't exist. Well, I'm here to tell you I do exist, and I'm going to win this race, and I'm going to win this seat. And you're going to sit there with egg on your face and wondering, well, how did that happen? Well, it happened because people care about what people think about and their views and their acumen and their political acumen far more than they care about race. I don't want to ever pander to any group. You will hear the same accent, the same tone, the same intonation moving forward from me regardless of who I'm talking to, because I treat everyone the same and I assume that you could think for yourself. And the benevolent liberal does not see it that way.
You say that there's going to be egg on people's faces, and that's fine if you're cooking. If you're cooking, you might as well bring some hot sauce. In that case, you can invite Hillary. You can invite Hillary over. Just let it play out.
Why are you doing this to me, man?
What's something that you always carry with you?
Hot sauce.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Are you getting information right now?
Hot sauce.
Like you
Hot
think
sauce in my bag, swag?
Hot sauce.
Really?
Yes.
Now,
yes.
listen, I just want you to know people are going to see this and say, okay, she's pandering to black people again.
Okay. Is it working?
I can't. Oh my God!
It's one of the greatest moments ever in the history of politics. Is it working?
Oh my God! Is
like,
it working?
The most important. Like, I know you've gone on Charlemagne's show. You need to, somebody needs to ask, like, why didn't you just ask her that right then and there? Show us the hot sauce. Like, you have a purse with you. Show us the hot sauce. You said you always carry it. So, lady, where is the hot sauce? And one final thing for you,
Go ahead,
and I know, thank you for being so generous with your time. One final thing for you. I know that you are campaigning for Senate right now, and this is probably inappropriate for me to suggest, because I'm certainly no master at this. But if you want to come up with a great stump speech, I got an option for you, and it's an option here provided to us by Hillary Clinton. If you want to come up with a good, solid speech, especially you just let it roll, Klein.
Feel no ways tired.
Consider this. Consider this, Congressman.
I started from. Nobody told me that the road
Yep.
would be easy.
You should just go to Houston.
I don't believe he brought me this far to leave me.
You just go to Houston. You go to Houston, the black neighborhoods of Houston, and Congressman, just stand on the street and go, I feel no ways tired.
This is like, you're really trying to ruin my morning this morning, aren't you, brother? Look, this is, by the way, this is, if you don't vote for me, you ain't black. Before, if you don't vote for me, you ain't black.
Yeah, right.
This is the worst example of pandering that white, benevolent, liberal Democrats have been doing for decades. And the unfortunate thing is black people continue to keep falling for it until this last election, when down here in Texas, 1 in 3 black men voted for who? Donald John Trump. And you know why? Because we are waking up to the game. We are hip to the game. You can no longer keep us in chains, as Joe Biden once said.
Yeah,
because
right.
at the end of the day, we now know this is a new America. Things have changed. And yes, we always have work to do. There's always a ways to go. But people also have to understand, as somebody that has served in theaters all over the world, there ain't nothing like America. There's nothing like the opportunity here. This is a place where in one generation you can have nothing. And by the time you live this life, you can have it all and set up your family for generational wealth and growth and set up your posterity for everything. For all the opportunities available to you, regardless of where you're from and regardless of what you look like. And that is the message that I want to send to my fellow Texans and my fellow Americans, is that's exactly what I am fighting for. You will never see me pander like you see Democrats pander to black people. You will never see me pander to a specific group. You will always hear me talking about how I serve my Lord, my God, Jesus Christ, and talk about the importance of what it means to be an American. We are all equal in God's eyes. You got to work for it. You got to have grit. You got to take risk. But in the end, in this country, you will be rewarded with that hard work. And you can be rewarded in this country unlike any other place in the entire world. Do not allow the white benevolent liberal to think that there is a ceiling to your growth. Do not allow them to tell you that because you are a young black man, you can't be anything in this country. Do not allow them to pull hot sauce out of their pocket and say, vote for me, black person. I have hot sauce in my pocket. See, look at how hip I am. Do not allow a white governor to talk about Wonder Bread to black men. This is what's wrong with their party, and this is why they're heading in the wrong direction. Let's just treat everyone with respect, act like everybody has a brain, and respect the fact that we can make our own decisions and we can have our own freedoms in this country as long as the government gets out of the way. You just really got me going.
Look at my Wonder Bread.
Look
at my basketball. It's unbelievable.
Throw the basketball against the wall. What are you doing?
Throwing basketball. You know, I'm just like, I'm hustling, man. Like, shut up, Gavin Newsom. We know your family. We know where you come from. We know who funds you, bro.
Hey, dog. Look at me. I can hoop just like what are you doing?
Wonder Bread. Well, I mean, what was on the inside of that Wonder Bread was obviously caviar from the French Laundry. Oh, sure, man. Yeah, sure. Yeah, bro. Okay. You'd thrown a basketball against the wall from the front seat of the Lakers, like sitting on the floor at the Lakers game. Got it. Yeah, bro.
It's like Michelin rated star Wonder Bread, right? Like, what are you talking about?
Follow Wesley Hunt, obviously. And go vote for Wesley Hunt in the senatorial election in the Republican primary, which will be a big hurdle in the election, but then also Democrats would love to steal the seat, man. Wesley Hunt has 500,000 subscribers here. Fight with the people who have fought for you in war zones and also fight for you today. The great Wesley Hunt. I will never speak with you about hot sauce, basketball, or Wonder Bread.
Thank you, brother. And also, I will tell you, God bless you. I always tell you this. God bless you and your beautiful family, brother. Thank you.
Same, man. Godspeed.
Of course.
I'm a hustler. All right. Got to lock it up, guys. Got to lock it in. Got to talk about the pipe bomber again. I'm a hustler. I got white bread. All right. Okay. I'd use spread mayonnaise and caviar on my white bread with my gold spoon, my literal gold spoon. Ladies and gentlemen, were you raised with a silver spoon? I was not, but that doesn't mean I'm a dummy. I can understand that gold is a really well-performing asset class and something that you should lock into in the year 2025 and 2026 and beyond. You can get your 2025 gold and silver report from my friends at Advantage Gold. Investors get a very few moments in their lifetime where all the stars align. That moment could change your life and your wealth forever. We're in one of those moments right now. The feds are going to slash more interest rates. That's the way that it's looking. And history shows that when they do, gold and silver will soar. Be prepared for it today with Advantage Gold. They're offering up to $10,000 in free silver with a qualifying purchase. Real silver you can hold in your hands. Text Benny to 85545 right now for your free gold and silver report. Ladies and gentlemen, get on board. You can check the markets yourself. See how gold's performed over the last couple of years. Text Benny to 85545. Your once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Okay, here's our once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to speak with Julie Kelly. Actually, that's not true. We've missed her on the program. So it feels like a once-in-a-lifetime. She hasn't been on in a while. She's been hitting the bricks, doing the work, doing the investigations. That's what Julie Kelly does. Julie Kelly, author of a declassified live Substack with a massive breaking report out today, joins us live right now. Julie, welcome back to the program. It is wonderful.
Benny, I will be on your show in this lifetime and any lifetime. I'm so grateful for you to have me on. Fascinating exchange there with Representative Hunt. That was very interesting.
Right. That's right. How much hot sauce and basketballs and Wonder Bread were you raised with, Julie? Very
definitely a lot of Wonder Bread. No doubt about that. Hey, I'm Gen X, remember? That's
Were you hustling? Were you hustling like Gavin? Yeah.
American, yes, exactly. So
one of the richest families in California, completely set up by the Gettys and the Pelosi's, like the billionaires of California, like literally chosen, like Nepo baby chosen for his job by his power, by his daddy. Oh yeah, I was hustling, man, with my Wonder Bread.
Oh yeah,
Jeez.
Sure.
Julie Kelly's been hustling. We read your entire report. We read the whole thing, and I know that this seems like it's part one.
Yeah.
So, but perhaps there's like a number of things that we missed here. But we read through it all, and the audience is ravenous for it. Let's just start with the top line. What it shows is that Carolyn Younger is. Am I saying that right, Carlin Younger is somebody who is changing her story, manipulating her story, and has very strange responses to either media or the feds that are not consistent, and seem to have like one massive hole other than the inconsistencies, fog of war stuff. I don't know where that all comes from. But the massive hole is that the timeline just blows up what the FBI says actually happened. She said that the bomb wasn't there earlier in the day, in the afternoon, and then it just was there. What the hell's going on here, Julie?
I don't know, Benny. That's what we're trying to figure out. And I've been covering Carolyn Younger's quote unquote discovery of the RNC pipe bomb since October of 2021. Her story always was super suspicious to me. Especially considering, and we're going to get to this in a series of reports, as you know from reading that piece, we have to really be not cautious, but I want to make sure that people have time to really understand and digest the various angles of this story. First of all, she was employed by FirstNet, which is this public-private partnership. She was a federal employee with the Department of Commerce. FirstNet is oversees broadband for first responders during disasters and emergencies. So she has a law enforcement, or had a law enforcement tie at the time. She also has a background in counterterrorism. Now, Benny, what are the chances that this individual decides at noon, precisely at noon on January 6th, in sub-freezing temperatures with 20-mile-an-hour winds, to go do her laundry at a communal laundry room that just happens to be behind the Capitol Hill Club and the RNC? Then she goes back, and this is part of her inconsistent stories. We can get into the details. She goes back around 12:40 to either switch out her laundry or do a second load. She can't keep her story straight on that. And all of a sudden looks down by a garbage can and she sees the alleged pipe bomb. She alerts authorities, a guard at Capitol Hill Club and a guard at RNC, who notifies Capitol Police. And then they divert law enforcement authorities to the RNC. So, and there's more to this. The timer that she claimed was at 20 minutes, which would have exactly coincided, Benny, with the start of the joint session of Congress at 1 p.m. that day to debate the outcome of the 2020 election. So thanks to recent disclosures production by this FBI to the new Select Committee on January 6th, headed by Representative Barry Loudermilk, this 4-page document details her 2 interactions with the FBI. One, an online tip that she sent on January 8th, then a sit-down interview with FBI agents on January 11th, where she gave different stories within a matter of hours. And this should definitely raise red flags in Congress at that committee and certainly at the FBI.
How do you even, okay, so DC is a filthy place. I know this. I lived there. I was there on January 6th. January 6th was frigidly cold outside, and also no one was in Washington, D.C. It's hard to really explain. Not only was the weather impermissible for like human interaction, but also people had just fled. Like they didn't want to be part of. There was a very strange energy in the city that day. It was vacant. It was empty. There was no one there. People weren't doing chores. People weren't running around, but people definitely weren't, and this is an amazing photo here. And I don't know why it's the first time I've seen this photo by one of these massive rat traps, because the rats in DC. I mean, it is quite a metaphor there, isn't it? Right?
Certainly is.
Isn't that like the dirty bomb next to the rat trap? Like, who would even notice this? I'm trying to figure this out. Like, how do you even, like, on a day that's it's so bitterly cold. I was freezing that day. I mean, I probably the coldest I've ever been in my life. I was raised in the Midwest. I was freezing that day. It's like kind of behind a garbage can. It's by the rat trap, which is, of course, filthy and disease ridden. How do you even notice this? Like, and then what are the odds that it's somebody who already works with the feds on emergency response for first responders? It seems a little on the nose, Julie.
Exactly. It's all too convenient that this individual, Carlin Younger, spotted this, decided to do her laundry, went back at a time to perfectly coincide with this really, and this is why it's so important to get to the bottom and expose all the truth, every angle of January 6th. The pipe bomb really initiated the first wave of panic that day. Yes. After Carlin Younger discovered this pipe bomb, Capitol Police were notified, Metro Police were notified. They started evacuating nearby congressional buildings, including the Cannon House Office building, which was right next to, and where these DNC, and of course they had discovered this DNC bomb about 20 minutes later. But this is all within a few blocks of the U.S. Capitol. So they started evacuating office buildings. Lawmakers were tweeting about this, blaming, of course, a MAGA person for setting pipe bombs. And then the breach, the first exterior breach of the Capitol grounds happened at about 12:53. So 13 minutes after this bomb was allegedly found. Now, Benny, keep in mind, and the FBI is still saying this, and I'm a little troubled by this.
It's been there all night. Yeah, it's all night. Yeah.
Right. So the FBI released another public plea last week, again stating that both of these devices had been set between 7:30 and 8:30 p.m. on January 5th. Carlin Younger, in the documents we just got, told the FBI in her tip line message that they had to have been set between noon and 12:40 on January 6th because she didn't notice the device on her first trip to this remote laundry room behind the Capitol Hill Club and the RNC. She didn't see it the first time. Now, you just said that. This is not a small device. She's the only person walking around there. She said she didn't see it at noon, but she saw it at 12:40. Okay. So not only does that contradict what the FBI is still saying about these bombs being planted the night before, but also who was the only person in that area between noon and 12:40 on January 6th, Carlin Younger. So she changed her story as to why she went back to the laundry room. She told authorities she went back there to put a second load of laundry in, but we have surveillance video showing her leaving the second time, leaving her apartment. She's empty-handed, so there was no second load. But she had told reporters just hours after her interview with the FBI that she was merely switching the first load of laundry into the dryer. Okay, well, why would you make, seems like a minor mistake, but it's not. She was saying this within hours of each other. Then, and this is the suspect that the FBI claims planted the bombs on January 5th, this hoodie. And this is actually important too, Benny, another discrepancy in what she said. In her tip line on January 8th, she tries to blame, she says that she saw a suspicious woman outside of the Capitol Hill Club, that she passed by this suspicious looking woman. At first, she said the woman was of shorter stature, 5'4" to 5'6", between the ages of 44 and 55, heavier set, wearing some sort of a black jacket. 3 days later, she tells the FBI that this woman is 5'7". Now, Benny, you know me, I'm tall. I'm 5'10". So 5'7" is not really tall to me, but to the average person, a 5'7" woman is not of shorter stature. About 10% of women in America are 5'7" and taller. So why did Carlin Younger first tell the FBI this woman was of shorter stature, then comes back and says this woman is 5'7"? On the nose, she told agents, 5'7", which happens to be the height of this individual, according to the FBI, who was seen in this surveillance footage. So there are many inconsistencies, discrepancies in it. Exactly.
There you go.
So why all of a sudden she changed it 3 days later?
You just blew my mind, Julie.
5'7". Right.
You just blew my mind. It just so happened to be the perfect point in the video. This is the brand new video that has just been released about 72 hours ago, 3-4 days ago by the FBI, that includes a voluminous amount of new footage of the pipe bomber that we've never seen from various angles, including the pipe bomber wandering through the alleyway. There it is, in order to get to the RNC. And they say that this is where the bomb was planted. This is when the bomb was planted because he walks, I'm just saying he, because I guess I'm assuming things. We have no idea. But this individual walks with the bag, and then, so this is what they say. They say in the video, he's walking with the bag, he plants the bomb, and then he leaves, and he's carrying it differently or whatever. Mm-hmm. Where the hell is this video on the time frame of when Carlin Younger is finding the bomb? Like, it would be very instructive to have alleyway footage around noon when the bomb was found. Where is that?
Well, apparently there is not footage from this specific alleyway that's available. However, we have captured surveillance video showing her, and some of this is in my piece. I'll be posting this on X as well. We have additional footage, but there's surveillance video from a security camera stationed right outside of the Capitol Hill Club, where you can see her exiting her apartment, walking in front of the Capitol Hill Club, and then going through that alley between the Capitol Hill Club and the RNC. So we have that. So that's how we were able to determine that, number one, she was not carrying a second load of laundry, which is what she told authorities on January 6th before she found the device. There is no indication, and we've looked at this surveillance video numerous times over years, that she ever encountered any suspicious looking woman that fits the description that she gave both times to the FBI, different versions of this woman. But at no time did she pass by any version of that woman. And it's also important to underscore, Benny, when she talks about this suspicious woman, she tries to make it sound like she was a J6 protester. She said she looked suspicious, but she also had the excited demeanor or excited air of other people who were planning to protest on January 6th. Raises another question. There's no indication that Carlin Younger saw any other protesters on January 6th. A lot of these streets, as you know, were shut down. Now, this is different than the DNC. You see a lot of people walking past the DNC. Again, the alleged pipe bomb that had been set the night before, we're supposed to believe sat there for 17 hours before Capitol Police identified it at about 1:07 that afternoon. She never encountered any protesters. So how is she saying the excited air of a protester? There's no indication any protesters were there whatsoever. So it is critical, Benny, for Congress and the FBI to identify the person who set these pipe bombs, whether it's at the two different people at the RNC and DNC, the same person, whether it's still what they believed the night before. Because as my friend Darren Beatty has said over and over, once you find out what happened with the pipe bombs, if it was part of the January 6th operation, if it was a hoax, which we believe that it has, we believe for years, the entire January 6th narrative unravels from there.
How could it be set? How could the timer, that's like a 60-minute timer, be set for 20 minutes if it was planted the night before?
Right. And that will be our next piece. And that is even more incriminating.
Like somebody went and put it there like quickly.
Well, also,
like in the window that it was found then.
How was it set for 20 minutes to allegedly detonate? Not only if it was set the night before, but magically coincides 12:40, 20 minutes to 1 p.m. when the joint session of Congress convened.
Julie, you cook. You cook.
Right.
I follow your account. Everyone follows Julie. Julie has millions of followers. That's a kitchen timer. Zoom as hard as we possibly can on that. That's a kitchen timer. It's not particularly sophisticated. You know, as I've seen enough Tom Cruise movies. Don't claim to be an expert in this,
right.
But like, how was that set the night before? How on earth is that viable bomb that's about to blow? Like, how was that set up 12 hours ago?
Because it wasn't. Obviously.
Because it wasn't. Yes, that's exactly right.
Well, I know you're from Iowa, so I have to explain this a little bit, Benny. It was not.
Got him. Boom.
As an Illinois and Chicago, and I have to say that. No, I love Iowa. Both my parents were born in Iowa.
You know what? You're right. In Iowa, you would be using a timer like that to pop popcorn, and that, or to, you know, that would be it. That's how I do. That's how I use the timer like that. But even I, from Iowa, hitting my rocks together, you know, to count the time, knows that that's a 60-minute kitchen timer.
Yes, it is 60 minutes. Correct. Right.
Okay. So now it's like, so now that we've ruled out the impossible, that this was set to blow the night before because it wasn't.
Right.
Then what's next? What are your suspicions here without without catching a lawsuit?
Right, exactly. So you have to be very careful here. But as someone who has covered this Carlin Younger story, watched all of her interviews, I ask people to watch her interviews that she gave to only Wisconsin. Here we go, more Midwest connection. Only Wisconsin-based media outlets, because she's from Wisconsin. She's from Madison. She received an award, a commendation from the mayor of the city of Madison, where she grew up and went to college at UW-Madison. How did the news outlets get a hold of Carlin Younger? The same day that she was interviewed by the FBI. Was she the one reaching out? And as you can see here, giddily talking about how she found this bomb. Also sort of odd behavior here. But
right.
I guess my biggest concern, Benny, is why she has not since been interviewed. It is my understanding that she has not. I don't know if there's been outreach by law enforcement. Of course, this would not have happened under the previous FBI. In fact, Stephen D'Antuono, who's Washington field office chief and led the investigation into January 6th and the pipe bomb, by the way. And Stephen D'Antuono said for years this was a viable, deadly device. It was not. It never was. But nonetheless, when he was asked in 2023 by House Republicans, I believe it was Tom Massey, pressing him specifically about Carlin Younger's discovery and if they had followed up with her, I believe he said no. He didn't even recognize her name. And he said, however, it's investigations 101. The person who finds the device is what? Usually a top suspect. So the question is, if we're serious about solving the pipe bomb mystery, nearly 5 years later, believe it or not, Penny, as the statute of limitations is ticking down, and I'm not saying that anyone specifically should be charged, but time is running out, and it is imperative to find out at least who set this RNC device, because this is even more suspicious than the DNC device, which is suspicious also, because you had 2 bomb-sniffing canine units missed it. You had law enforcement from the Secret Service, Metro Police, and Capitol Police who missed the device, and dozens of pedestrians missed the device in 17 hours, we're told. And Kamala Harris, the incoming vice president, is at the DNC while this pipe bomb allegedly is sitting there undetected until after 1 o'clock.
And they've never used that. In my open here, I said, libs aren't one to miss own goals, right? Like they are thrilled about what they have a bloodthirsty capacity for either planting ops or manipulating stories, leaked chat, leaked text messages, got it. They will go to the extremes, right? To make sure that all of us know that every MAGA person is culpable for planting a bomb that nearly killed the first black female vice president. That was the most obvious own goal in the history of media, right? Like it's wide up. It's so easy. It's dumb how easy it is. Nothing. Never heard a thing about it. Never heard it. I've never understood that, Julie. I know that we've talked about it a little bit, but maybe it's just because I follow. Maybe it's just this is what I do all day. And I've seen how grotesque the left is at taking like the slightest sliver of an opportunity, right, to manipulate the news cycle and to paint MAGA, as harshly as they possibly can as extremists. That seems like the most glaring admission that something in this op went horribly wrong, that they couldn't control it, that they were not going to follow through with it, that something went wildly off course. Because the other thing about that news cycle was that you would have taken guys like me and even Steve Bannon and Tucker and everyone, all of them, your friends, you've appeared on all their shows. And every one of us would have said, you know what? And put this photo up. I would have said, find this son of a bitch. Find this bastard. Yeah, I'm sick of this. Whoever this guy is, go find him. You'd have it's the weirdest thing. You would have had all of us on your side. Yeah, of course you shouldn't be planting bombs. Duh. So I don't care what this individual's politics is. Go find them. Great. That's you would have had this massive moment of unity. You would have this victimhood moment for Kamala Harris. She's constantly groveling, literally on her knees, groveling for her victimhood moments, right? Here's your perfect opportunity to not only make Kamala Harris the biggest victim and survivor of all time, but also to get me on your side in saying, yeah, this douchebag, you better find him, actually. To kind of bow my head and say, yeah, find this douche. And they didn't take it. What the hell is that, Julie?
Well,
sorry for the rant.
No, you are spot on. Why has this disappeared in the corporate media as well? This has just vanished. I bought Kamala Harris's book. The first thing I searched in the
You're the one. I heard there was one. I heard she sold one.
She did. It was me. I'm guilty. $11.99, I think. Kindle. So
we're having a little connection here. It's not your connection. It's there we go. I think Julie, you're back. Are you on that JB Pritzker wireless in Illinois? Oh no. All right, guys, let's move Julie into the green room. I'm sorry, Julie. Maybe we can reconnect in the green room. Maybe we can let's just let a producer work with her for just a moment. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to finish this conversation with Julie. Okay, so we're gonna just like reconnect. Sometimes these things happen. Again, Julie Kelly does use Illinois internet, so you never know, right, with these kind of things. Ladies and gentlemen, this is obviously something that is important to us, and where our producers are locking back in to make sure that we have a nice, crisp and clear Julie. You need crisp and clear advice in your life. Chapter is how you can get it. Ladies and gentlemen, Medicare's annual enrollment period is here. It's a very big deal. Millions of seniors every single year face massive challenges with their changing medical plans. This is a challenge for all Americans, but ladies and gentlemen, if you're on Medicare or if you're enrolling soon, make sure that you're talking to somebody who's on your side. Chapter can make sure that you have the best plan for 2026. You deserve trustworthy advice. I'm telling you about Chapter right now. On average, Chapter can help save people $1,100 a year. This is the kind of stuff that really counts, especially around the holiday season. Chapter makes it easy for you. In under 20 minutes, they can make sure that you have the best plan for 2026. Speak with a trusted Chapter advisor today by dialing pound 250 and say this word savings to take control of your healthcare. That's pound 250, keyword savings. Speak to somebody at Chapter today. Ladies and gentlemen, we'd love to speak with Julie Kelly back on the program. Let me know, boys, when we have Julie back. I hope that we have her back. We really do. It does look like that we are having some technical difficulties. You saw the entire feed just kind of collapse. Collapse down. So we'll see what's next. We did actually touch on a number of these stories that we wanted to talk about with with Wesley Hunt, so I don't want to repeat myself. AOC did a Mondami rally in New York City and went bananas. I mean, she literally went insane. And maybe this is because people are going to find out that AOC is a liar and a fraud. AOC, remember, and somebody should really check in on this. AOC told us that there were people banging on her door. She was hiding in her bathroom during January 6th. AOC now saying that she's not crazy. Here we go.
But we must remember, in a time such as this, we are not the crazy ones, New York City. We are not the outlandish ones, New York City. They want us to think we are crazy. We are sane.
You can always tell somebody really believes what they're saying when they say the line and then they look right down at their paper. And they say the line and they look right down at their paper. We do a lot of public speaking, and so I'm doing my best to you do your best to memorize a speech and really truly believe what you say. We do the entire show with no script, right? It's often just talking off the dome. We have articles. We have Klein knows, we have articles and assets loaded up, But I'm not reading a script. And the last thing you want to do when you're doing a speech is read a script. Otherwise, you'll have a moment. Oh, ladies, this is clearly unscripted. Otherwise, you'll have a moment like this. Here's AOC losing her effing mind yesterday. And then my producer telling me Julie Kelly's locked and ready to go. Okay, here we go.
This city was built by the Irish escaping famine, Italians fleeing fascism, Jews escaping Holocaust, Black Americans fleeing slavery and Jim Crow, Latinos seeking a better life, Native people standing for themselves, Asian Americans coming together in Queens, in Brooklyn, in the Bronx, in Manhattan, in Staten Island, in this country, in a vision to build the freest, toughest, and greatest city on earth. I'm a girl from the Bronx.
Ladies and gentlemen, a girl from Illinois back on the program, Julie Kelly. Let's just rock and roll. Here we go. There's Julie Kelly. And we're back. Good? Yes? Oh, no. Producers. Oh, dude. Bros, you're killing me. You're killing me, guys. We want to get... So she's... Julie's locked up again. Okay. Here we go. All right, nope. Julie, you got us?
I do. I could see you. I don't know what's happening. I even got a hard line. So.
Oh, no. Well, Yeah, it's just the way it works sometimes.
It's the feds.
It's the feds. It is. It always happens. The feds. You talk about the communist Chinese, or you talk about a Fed operation. This will always happen. Okay, so let's so we played the AOC clip because it kind of just blends in perfectly with what we're talking about. Like AOC took it to its greatest extreme, January 6th. Said she was in her bathroom and J6 protesters were like knocking on her door and she was crying. And all of it's lie, all of it's fake, all of it's a lie.
Right.
But they didn't do that with the pipe bomb. They just dropped it. They dropped it like it's hot. What's your greater overall suspicion here with the bomb, the DNC and RNC? Here we go.
I think that it was part of the overall Fed insurrection, that it was planned. And I think that we are going to have some more evidence of that. We do know, and this is part of the disclosures in both the January 6th, the first committee, and also interviews that were conducted by that committee and Washington Post coverage, that there actually were tabletop exercises conducted the end of December by DC law enforcement officials planning to prepare or at least consider the possibility of pipe bombs being planted around the US Capitol. And then lo and behold, that actually happened. Now, this also is tied to so-called fusion centers, which are part of FirstNet. So there are just so many ties that go back to Carlin Younger that you can't simply dismiss as coincidences or misstatements or misremembering what happened. There are just too many oddities, both to her involvement, her decisions that day, and her demeanor afterwards in interviews that, again, should suggest that at least she should be questioned, again, by law enforcement authorities. And back to your point, Benny, I think this is what we were talking about, Kamala Harris. It is so weird that she has compared January 6th to 9/11, Pearl Harbor, Oklahoma City bombing, just like Attorney General Merrick Garland. But yet she never publicly has discussed that she was there or why she went there. In her book, she says that she went to the DNC. Now, she left a Senate meeting on January 6th. She was a U.S. Senator, remember, at the time, from California. She was part of the proceedings that day. Furthermore, historic moment, Kamala Harris is going to be anointed the first female Black vice president. We're supposed to believe this media-hungry individual, Kamala Harris, leaves the Capitol where there's press everywhere to go hide at the DNC. She said in her book she went there to call donors or call contributors to thank them. Why are you doing that? And then you're still not back at the Capitol by 1 o'clock when the joint session convenes, so you can walk in the Senate, hey, look at me, I'm making history. She's at the DNC sequester there making phone calls, and she mentions it once in her book and has never talked about it publicly. Just so many weird elements, so many.
I want to just ask one final question because this is something that is of a personal nature to me, because I was able to be interviewed by the FBI quite recently based on a piece of evidence that was sent to my house, a death threat to me and my family. They were able to take this just piece of paper that wasn't even handwritten, it was typed out, and they were able to find DNA evidence on this piece of paper that came from a printer, right? And then now there's an individual, his name's Russell Isabel Jr., and he's admitted to sending this death threat to my family, and he's going to be charged. He's facing quite a bit of time in prison.
Good.
And I was able to watch the sophistication and speed of the FBI in real life, Julie. I was able to see it just based on a printed piece of paper that was mailed to my P.O. box. And it was remarkable, actually. I did my own FBI interviews. I actually sat for this stuff. There were no first off, you're getting interviewed by the FBI. You lock it in. There's no inconsistencies. You tell them the truth, right? And I know well enough, right? That's how they get you. But then also I saw the speed at which they were able to get a hit on DNA evidence on this piece of material that was criminal in nature. And it happened at light speed.
Right.
Here's this bomb. Kitchen timer and all. They've been able to ascertain zero DNA evidence on this thing. Like, was it built was it built on the moon? Was it built like in a Dragon X spaceship, like a SpaceX spaceship, like in orbit? Was it made on like a spacewalk? How? And God's green earth, has there been no physical evidence tied to these things, like from these things, ascertained?
One of many unanswered questions, Benny. That's all I can say. One of many. They were allegedly detonated. We know that they were detonated to the extent that how can you detonate an inert device? But yeah, they have. And furthermore, remember, we are also told the cell phone data file for January 5th
yes. Physical
was
evidence,
corrupted,
yes.
Right? Who notified the FBI? We have this new email as well, that, oh, gee, all the January 5th cell phone data files are corrupted. FirstNet. So
come on.
Another weird coincidence.
Come on. Really?
Can't make it up. Can't make it up. Benny, here's what I tell people when things like this are developed, is people will ask me, how did they think they were going to get away with this? How did they think that there would be FBI under, informants at the Capitol or embedded in these groups? Or how did we get to the bottom of the deployment of the National Guard, and that Nancy Pelosi and her security chief numerous times over the course of a few days, and especially throughout that afternoon, denied Capitol Police Chief Steve Sund's urgent requests to deploy the National Guard, who were ready at the Armory, ready to go. All of these questions, I say because they never thought anyone would ask. They really believed the January 6th narrative of an insurrection would hold, that no one would start digging around. And thanks to people like you and Tucker and Steve Bannon and others who had people like me and Darren Beatty on early, as we were really the only two. I'm not bragging. I mean, I'm just saying our reporting would have gone nowhere if it weren't for you guys putting us on your programs and letting us tell you what we're finding out. They really thought that this would go untouched, that everyone would believe this was an insurrection and not doubt what happened. And here we are almost 5 years later, and we're still learning new things. And we are still going to learn new things because more documents are coming, even related to the pipe bomb. So also another interesting thing with Carlin Younger, I know I'm throwing a lot out there, but again, my piece at Declassified with Julie Kelly, when she talks to the media about the device that she found, she describes it perfectly. A 6-inch pipe capped at both ends with wires and a timer. Who talks that way? Unless you know what you're talking about. She saw that device for a few seconds. She didn't pick it up. She peered in, she took a look at it, maybe saw it, given all the timeline that we know, 30 seconds. But you can describe a 6-inch metal pipe capped on both ends with wires and a timer, that sort of specificity. Now, that's a pro talking, Benny. That's not just some random passerby doing her laundry. I mean, come on. So, and that's footage that we have in my piece, but they never thought that we would still be digging around. They certainly didn't think 5 years later, with Republicans in charge of the White House, the Senate, and the House of Representatives, that these new records, footage, and information would still be coming out.
They deeply misunderstand the autism of the internet. And that is what powers this program, along with the reporting from Julie Kelly. And Julie Kelly has 900,000 subscribers here on X. She has many more thousands of subscribers at her Substack. You can see it right here, Declassified, with Julie Kelly, from lucky neighbor to unreliable witness. We look forward to this series, Julie. It seems like you're really on to something. And how does the old saying go, right? When you rule out the impossible, however improbable, you are left with the conclusion, right? Correct answer. So yes. I'm glad that we are ruling out the impossible. So now we need to start asking some tough questions. Think Loudermilk's going to get it done?
I do. I interviewed him earlier this month. I'll have a piece up on that as well. He was recently talking to John Solomon in an interview, and he brought up this pipe bomb and the 20-minute timer issue. I've talked to him specifically about Carlin Younger. I believe that he does want to speak with her, not again, but for the first time. So I expect more interesting developments on this front over the next few months, and I'm sure I will be on to share all of that with you and all of your viewers.
Oh, yes, you will, Julie. Thank you. Godspeed. And man, the truth will set you free. The great Julie Kelly.
Thanks, buddy.
See ya. Oh, man. Ladies and gentlemen, it does always happen, though. When we talk about the Communist Party of China or a Fed op, the entire show collapses. It's like, thank God our show, typically not. One time they cut the line, a couple months back, right? They were like doing construction. They cut the internet lines. Oh, it was so terrible. That was our personal Vietnam. Yes, as Trump would say, our personal Vietnam. But ladies and gentlemen, we are happy to be rocking and rolling today. We'll stay on this. What a fascinating interview. She described the exact height of the alleged pipe bomber in a news story. And her company does first responder emergency responses. Really? Really? And then the people who detonated the bomb and then did the data collection around the bomb was her company? Wait, what? So FirstNet? What is FirstNet? Is Skynet? Like, what the hell is this? We can do a little extra research ourselves. They did all the corrupted data collection? The Kamala Harris bomb? The 60-second timer? What the hell was going on? At least we're asking the right questions. Ladies and gentlemen, I know there's a lot of news and a lot of stuff that's breaking today. And a lot of things happening in the world. But I think that this is the key to unlocking some of the evil that has gripped our countries by the throat. And they intended this to be the kill shot. Praise God, it didn't happen. And that the truth shall set you free. That is why we have a verse of the day from James 5:13. Is anyone amongst you in trouble? Let them pray. Is anyone happy? Let them sing songs of praise. It's something that I'm trying really hard to do is to, obviously we pray every single day. We do our level-headed best to read our Bible every single day, and I encourage you to do both. Gratitude. You will not find a godless person practicing gratitude. You won't find it. Miserable nihilism and narcissism follows the unbeliever and the godless. It's what leads to genocides. It's what leads to the grotesque greed and what you're seeing in New York, what you've seen in every socialist country, every communist country. I mean, these are godless ideologies. Gratitude. Are you happy? Let them sing songs of praise. Practice gratitude. That's it's probably the least practiced virtue among young people, in fact. Like, I consider myself, I guess, an older young person. Be thankful. Be thankful. And make sure that you are constantly vigilant and driving forward in your walk and in your faith. Ladies and gentlemen, a beautiful verse of the day from James. And just a little word of encouragement from me at the end of our show here, which is that in the end, we win. It's your boy Benny, always proud to march and fight with you. See ya.
You want a tariff? I give you big tariff. You want a 150 tariff? 2 mush tariff for you. I know you want a greatest of all time 150 tariff on your seafood, right clam shoulder, and ushu lobster and banana tariff. So much tariff. Look at my rate, it's direction of tariff I give to you.
Where the truth gon' be, faith and freedom on your TV screen. Stand up strong, battle through the night. The Benny Show's here, bringing liberty to light. From the speeches to debates, Benny sharp like a blade, cutting through the lies, watch the truth cascade. With the warrior's heart, this man never fades. You know it's prime time when Benny invades. From saving the nation to stories untold, the Benny Show's a storm, see the truth unfold. Stay in the loop, let freedom take hold. Salting all the libs, soul never sold. It's the Benny Show, where the truth gon' be, faith and freedom on your TV screen. Stand up strong, battle through the night. The Benny Show's here, bringing liberty to light. Liberty to light, bringing liberty to light. Liberty to light, bringing liberty to light. From the speeches to debates, Benny sharp like a blade, cutting through the lies, watch the truth cascade. With the warrior's heart, this man never fades. You know it's prime time when Benny invades. From saving the nation to stories untold, the Benny Show's a storm, see the truth unfold. Stay in the loop, let freedom take hold. Salting all the libs, soul never sold. It's the Benny Show, where the truth gon' be, faith and freedom on your TV screen. Stand up strong, battle through the night. The Benny Show's here, bringing liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light.